Right, here's one for you. Speaking of, are you ready? So, by the way, if you want to submit a fan take, subscribe to Last V Nation Discord. There's a channel in a section called like crewmates or something. There's a channel as well as questions for Summoning Insight and the CS hot take point made. You can submit them for this show. It'll be like LOL hot takes or something. If you don't want your name read out, say that. Otherwise, I'm going to read it out as we roast you. So, Breaketh says, Doinb should be the next mid laner / captain of T1 if Faker was to retire after this year. Here's his reasoning. Doinb is a Faker Xiaohu-esque player, a shot-calling captain mid laner that has proven his capabilities. Doinb would actually have a team and not just 4 wards. There isn't a high-level top laner that is an IGL on the level of Faker or Doinb. Replacing Owner or Carrier are too good. He means like if you replace them, they are too good. Then it would be a downgrade to replace them for a shot-calling upgrade. An ADC as IGL would be stupid. So anyway, that's his case. He thinks Doinb, if Faker was to retire, Doinb's the man to replace him. Thoughts, boys? You muted, by the way, Zabatine.
Yeah. Just
on you go, Dava. You take this one first.
I don't know. I feel like it's so far-fetched. I feel like it's really, the people who don't get to get anywhere close to what's happening in the team, they have this kind of fantasy about how players behave with each other. And especially, like, what I don't understand is this fantasy still lives on while we have access to the comms. And it's really baffling for me because we know the level of shot calling that Faker has at T1. And it's nothing amazing like, for instance, Doinb does where he speaks like he's shoutcasting the game and calling people's timers and stuff because he's that shot caller. Like, he's probably the best shot caller of all time.
Yeah, I think so.
Like, for people who have the reference, I don't see any player that's able to time the summoners of the bot lane and the jungle while laning and being able to watch the camera on both sides and shot calling at the same time. Like, nobody does that. Like, he's the ultimate ADHD
There was
mid laner.
one time I remember they showed a clip, Zabatine, where he literally was typing in chat the jungle timer as he like sidestepped like a fucking ability or something in mid lane, and it was like, what? Like, you assume you do that on the back or something, like, no, it's true. Like, some of the clips are nuts. It's true.
And then you watch T1 comms and you have Faker saying, bot lane no flash? Coming. And then they execute this absolutely insane dive. Nobody talks on the voice chat.
Yes.
Just everybody knows exactly what they have to do. And it's like, nicer. And then everybody recalls. And it's like, oh God, we need someone like Faker that can shot call. I'm like, where did you pick that from? Like, we have the proof that he's not that guy. And you are like, oh, the only one that can fit his shoes, which obviously nobody really can, is the guy that shot calls. That's living in China, probably has money in China, doesn't want to get out of China. I think he's married in China as well, right? Probably has a family in China. It's like, if it's one person, we're just going to drag this guy out of his current life situation and just throw him because he's able to like time summoners on side. While Faker
I will say, the part
like,
that makes this a massive hot take is like actually what you're alluding to. Doinb is also one of the only players I know that's Korean who's never given any indication he wants to go home, even, bro. Like, that's, as far as I know, the joke is even Doinb would go, actually, that shouldn't happen, mate. Like he would disagree with the take, basically.
One of the weird things about like Doinb is like more than any other player, even though because he gets like he's like a caricature. Like, people like think they know who Doinb is, but there's so many different versions of like Doinb. Like, there's a version of Doinb who literally can't lane at like tier 1 League of Legends, but he knows this. So what he's going to do is he's going to have just the best mechanical jungler like ever, and basically just like pseudo funnel him, right? Okay, and just play like basically CC bot. Then there's a version of Doinb who will play like cheating, pushing mid laners, and he's just going to move to side lane on every single like wave. Then there's a version of Doinb that is literally the most farm heavy player ever. It's where he's like Rise 400 CS, running into your team with like tank items and like blowing people up. Then there's a version of Doinb who's actually sick at laning. He's playing like Aurelia mid, he's outplaying people. There's all these different versions of like Doinb, right? The version you're basically taking this very like niche part of like who Doinb is, and you'll be like, oh, he communicates well, right? And you're saying, I'm going to use that and I'm going to apply it to Faker. But that's not really like what it wants. Like, for example, there's not really a version of Doinb that ever lanes as well as Faker. Like, Faker's obviously fell off as a player. He still like lanes out matchups like very, very well, like very, very methodically. Like his Orianna, his Galio's, And Silas sees his Akali's, like, he's really good at last hitting under the turret, prepping the wave, managing his health bar. Yeah, the rest of his team helps him out in these, like, matchups, but, like, that his Faker's still proficient. Is he, like, dominating the lane? No, that's not the point. But, like, Doinb doesn't do that. Like, Doinb sometimes just, like, vibe checks and doesn't give a fuck about missing CS at times. And I've seen all sorts of, this guy do all sorts of things. The one thing that would be really cracked is just seeing Doinb link up with like a super aggressive versions of like Owner in Korea, where you just ramp the aggression up to like 10, 15x. But would that be like a better version of like T1? Like, I don't think so.
You need Zeus in Smash then. Like, you need like insane, top bot lane carries that just like play animal. And that's a do or die type of roster. I mean, that's so un-T1, right? So unfit for the brand, but it would be so exciting to watch.
Yeah, like that's like the type of shtick of like, funnily enough, like, here's like a weird one. Yeah, I actually think Doinb would have been a better fit on like the Damwon teams with like fucking Showmaker, where it was like with Canyon. He would have been a better fit on like that team archetypally rather than like the T1 team. But yeah, it's just basically just saying, oh, he comms well. T1 needs comms. Let's stick him on there. It's a very different type of communication.
I will say I'll actually pick up on an echo Akira's sentiment. The real problem here is this also shows me who actually has the deep LPL lore knowledge, because Doinb has played for 10 years, and I agree. You can easily, I'll even go, like, I'll do the same thing. I think there's like 4 eras of Doinb. I'm with you. One, there's the first one, the Chowga Reapers one. He's just a whatever player, by the way. I can imagine at the time that was just like, get me a Korean. They got him a Korean. And if you remember, the entire strength of that team was just team fighting. They just had really good team fight, basically. So very different to all the other Doinb teams. Then you come to the FPX era, right? That's the one people know because they win worlds. But what people always forget is when Nemesis made that famous 4-part on stream, he wasn't 100% wrong. You know where he said, I think it was when it was in like, I think it's when he got knocked out in the round of 8. And I think from the semis on, he made that comment where he was like, Doinb is the worst mid left in the tournament or something. He meant because he's Nemesis, and this is right, like the first year of his career at LEC level, he meant like in terms of like laning, mechanics, a solo queue player, basically. That's probably how Nemesis envisioned the game at the time. So on that level, he couldn't see what Doinb was doing, because Doinb was doing this, like, my fingerprints are on the rest of the players, and it's how I guide the support in the jungle through the game. Because that was when he was like the move mid laner, like you say. Like, the joke is, he didn't beat Caps straight up. He never played Caps. Caps never got to play a mid lane game of League of Legends then. Like, the comps and the way that Doinb shot called meant that, like, the team just fucking killed you dead straight up. Then you have the third one, I agree, which is when he was like, here's the thing, Doinb's actually been a 4-time MVP of the league. It was only the latter two were the ones I fuck with, though, because I agree, if you go to the end, though, the latter part of FPX, he actually was unbelievable individually then. Like, he was laning like a god. He was still doing all this shit, as far as I can tell. Just the sad one is that was the worlds they bombed, that 2021, so everyone forgets it, and it's gone from their mind, unfortunately. That's essentially, he's a victim of that perks, and actually even Rogue was fucking them up in that tiebreaker thing. So then the last one is now, you think of when he came back this year, he's the guy who brought Pantheon mid out. Now he was playing all like fucking globals, and essentially he had like a dog shit team where he had to like basically like create the most perfect scenario to win the game, otherwise you can't possibly win. But he was like doing it in winter. That was the craziest thing. If people want to know how nuts this year's Doinb was at the beginning, the team that he is in with upgrades was in the fucking lower group for this summer split. In winter they were in the fucking upper bracket of the real LPL playoffs, like, and they were going 3-2 with people. Like, that's how cracked he was. So I agree, I know what you mean. They've basically taken the most caricature version of Doinb, like what like literally someone would draw as like a comedic sketch of like, here's the most exaggerated parts of his strengths and weaknesses, and what you're basically doing is you're taking my FAKER Xiaohu thing and you're extending it too far. You're going, right, all FAKER does in T1 is shot call and uses brain, but he has no hands. Oh wait, I know someone who shot calls and has a great brain and no hands, Doinb. And it's like, not really. Like, if he joined, he wouldn't be Doinb from fucking original FPX at the beginning. Like, he's not that player now himself. With that said, though, I'll give you a couple of angles I do think are fun, though. So one is, I will say, if you were to only know Doinb from the 2019 Worlds win and you think of the FPX squad, I'll tell you what, that's not a terrible analogue for the current T1. So we've got an overrated a Korean top laner that's not actually that good. He's just good. In this case, Kim Goon was actual dog shit. But this Thorin's not some super carry mega player. And also, he actually got away with it for the whole spring split, but that's gone now. Like I'm sorry, the carriage is turned back to a pumpkin. The horsemen, they're just mice now. His dress is all gone. It's gone. It's done. So that's over with. So he's the Gimgoon of the team. Orna and Kerrier, these like super aggressive, sick that's your fucking Tian and your Crisp right there. Loving that angle. And then you've got a slightly overrated AD carry that if you put him on the right champion and get him to the right point in the team fight, can carry a team fight. There's LWX, there's Goomer for you. By the way, the best part about this is I'm just hurting all the T1 fans' feelings with all the players, because almost everyone I've compared them to, they're actually worse players than debatably maybe the owner T1 one might not be, but all the rest are worse players, I'll give you that. But it's just funny. And obviously I'll say Goomer's better than LWX, but I do think it's not a bad analogue. I can see why as a pleb Takey came up with this. The last thing to say though is this, on the actual shot calling one, I agree with Zabatine. I think what people have misunderstood here is this. It's weird because I agree there've been loads of comm videos over the years from T1. T1 have never had the comms of Doinb or the classic one from NA we all know was high back in the day when some of those VODs came out, and it was just him talking like a solo queue game with voice comms, like do this, come out, pull back, hold up, I don't want you to go in yet, like go in now, and he was just doing the same thing. He was shot calling the whole game. Almost no one in League of Legends does that, by the way. I don't even know anyone other than High and Doinb who've ever done that and had success. Like it's actually extremely.
Mada?
Who?
Mada?
Here's the thing. I couldn't believe he shot called like when the top lane teleports and when he like invaded the jungle, but I doubt he was, telling people in the mid lane when to freeze the wave and shit. I don't know if he ever did that much.
I remember interviews from Pound that said, like, I tell what Mada tells me to do.
Oh, fair enough. Okay.
You're in team fights. So.
Anyway, the point is that would be the exception that proves the rule anyway. I would say this, though. I actually can draw you a comparison from a game where I know a lot about the shotgun, which is obviously Counter-Strike. In Counter-Strike, the player I often say is like the best in-game leader ever is someone called Carrigan, a Danish player who's worked with a lot of international rosters, almost fitting in this sense. And his style of calling basically is the faker style Zabatine's talking about. Here's what you do. You establish not what we're going to do specifically. You're not microing people. You establish your style of play, your profile, what in Korea they call the colour of the team. And once you establish that, you get everyone on the same page that they all understand what we do. How does T1 react to something? And it all becomes a shorthand Sabatine. Faker doesn't have to tell them all, right? Because they've already done that in the scrims, in all the past games. They all know basically what the next move is and who's aggressive and who goes where and who follows up. And then all he calls is the connective tissue. He just calls like, right, go now, or like push bot, or I base, or some shit, right? Well, that's what Carrigan does in FaZe if people don't know. He doesn't micro you from the beginning of the round. He gets players that he can trust, can do what the style is, and then he makes what you call the golden call. He makes the call in the 28th round of a 30-round game in Counter-Strike that wins you the game at the end, like the little switch. Like you could imagine, for example, I'd have to go back and look at the comms, but if you go back and look at the comms, I'm pretty sure Faker was the one who told them, like, you can go in on that fight in the game 5 against BLG, like, we can win this or whatever when it looks like it's a hard. That's the sort of calling he's making. So the problem with that is that's not Doinb calling anyway, as far as we can tell. Like, you don't need Doinb to do that. Like, if anything, you could have essentially any good, like, normal captain could probably do that. It's just the problem is the last thing to say on this topic. The one red herring I feel like here is this. You could do all these things, and Doinb might even be better at being a captain than Faker. Maybe he'd have a lot of success. But if you also want the end result to be a bit like T1 We Win Worlds, it's not even that Faker makes the best calls ever. I think, to me, to win like that is about timing. It's not pure luck, but there's luck involved in it. It's about when you make the call, not what the call is as much. You know what I mean? Like the difference between, like, people aren't really doing what fans think, which is they think before like a massive objective, like the shot caller like somehow fucking tells you everything that's going to happen and you go in and execute. It's like team fights are all messy. To me, the golden call is something like we can turn on them now as we're like running away from them in a fight, or, go back, re-aggress on the Baron or something. That's like the kind of like small shot call that wins you the big game. And that's not actually like some giga brain mega thing. I'd say like you've got, it's more like feeling for the game. I think that's intuitive more than it's cerebral, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I think it's an interesting point though. Wasn't as stupid as it originally sounded, even though it definitely was out there. Yeah, and as I say, I also think it's probably the least plausible move you could ever have. Like, I don't think Doinb will ever set foot in Korea except for international tournaments again in his career. Like, I think that's it. Like, he just seems like he's decided he lives in China now. That's where his whole life is. And there's not even, I don't even think he wants to come to T1, by the way. That would be my guess. So it's all good. And also, the joke is that spot's right available for you on JDG, mate. Anytime you want to move in, we'll send you over the uniform. Don't worry about it. Or TES, you can choose. You pick which of the two. You pick which of the two, because those two frauds can fuck right off, as that previous Kanavi discussion said. Okay, boys, do we have another hot take? Someone else have another one?
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.